This is my original Transit Mark 7 key fob, which as we can see is extremely worn, and precisely the reason why I went looking for another one. Well, here's the Aliexpress listing of the key that I found, which convinced me that it must be exactly the same specifications as my original key, because everything in the title and everything in the description and specification below matched my original key. And there was absolutely nothing, incidentally, with the part number, the chip number, the frequency that suggested this was not my key. Even down to the WM-VM 2006 to 2015, everything was consistent. Well, a few days later the key arrives from Aliexpress in the post, and I embark on the mission to try and get it cut. Seemingly the best place to start, with a list of locksmiths that I dutifully called through, only to be told down the phone that we do not cut these aftermarket keys because the Aliexpress blades have an inconsistent metal that wreck our machines, which cost £8 each, so we all stay away from them. And I think there was at least 3 locksmiths that told me that, and I gave up after that. And of course then one stepped in to say we'll cut one of our blades for £40 to replace the Aliexpress one, being something of course they are confident to put in their machine without wrecking it. And then gave me this rather strange offer that we can come out to program the Aliexpress key fob for £90. But there is no guarantee it will work, and you will have to pay us £90 if it fails and you still have no key, as some kind of call out fee, I presume, that is non-refundable. So I tried to code the key myself by hooking up my laptop to the OBD port using an ELM-327 interface connector adapter, and loading ForScan onto my laptop, as well as successfully apply for a license, incidentally. So I had a perfectly legitimate license and decent software that consistently failed to program the key. Of course it just crashed. Every time I attempted to code the key it just crashed, kept coming back with this warning. This is Pat's reported about success, but counter of programmed keys has not been increased yet. So in other words, it wasn't a success. And as we can see, the number of keys is still 3. So that told me that this key is not programmable. Well, this is what prompted me to start opening up these blue plastic fobs to find out what's inside, and if there were any answers to the question why this Aliexpress key would not code and persistently refused to be programmed. Only to find, of course, once I had opened them up, that the components inside look completely different to my original key. And in fact the battery initially looked entirely different because it's non-rechargeable, and the chip incidentally looks completely different. That's a critical part just here. Looks very different on the Aliexpress version, which again explains why it may not have programmed successfully. Only to find when I flipped it over that 90% of the circuitry, the electronic circuitry, was missing, which of course is absolutely vital to its functioning and normal operation, which again may explain why it didn't code properly, and even if it had coded, probably wouldn't work. Lastly, what is also of concern is the fact that the Aliexpress key had the same FCC ID, which should provide a guarantee that it meets all the original specifications. As we can see here, put into DuckDuck AI search bar, what is the CEO700 on the back of a transit key fob? CEO700 is the FCC ID associated with certain Ford Transit key fobs indicating compliance with specific regulatory standards for electronic devices. This ID helps identify the key fob's manufacturer and ensures it meets safety and performance requirements. And I repeat, ensures it meets safety and performance requirements. So this is blatantly misleading, blatantly illegal, and is irrefutably a scam. I mean, absolutely 100% a huge scam. So on the basis of that, and on the basis of this number being placed on here, as well as all the evidence we've seen, we can now say that this item does not match the description beyond all reasonable doubt, and is not what it claims to be in the AliExpress listing beyond all reasonable doubt.